here we go. Samir finally put down the Sprite deck after many, many years.
Yeah.
He's playing sort of, it could be the spiritual successor to Sprite, I'd say Ryziel, although you have to give away your rank 2s for some rank 4s.
But that's not quite the normal summon you want to go for in the deck. So I want to know what you guys think about obviously Ryziel and the different variants that we are going to see this weekend. Is this the way to go, or do you like, you know, some new additions from Supreme Darkness with the Mitsurugi, for example?
I think the Ryziel strategy, as you say, is very flexible, and I guess it depends what you like. So the Fiendsmith deck is very grindy and is very consistent, whereas the Mitsurugi strategy is very powerful and very explosive, but I think on occasion you might not get all of your Mitsurugi cards going, whereas the Fiendsmith is very easy to get them going. You just need to get 2 monsters on the field and away you go. Whereas on the flip side, some people prefer the Mitsurugi strategy because it's more explosive, and also it's less weak into Fuvalos, which is a very, very popular card we'll be seeing a lot of this weekend.
Yeah, I think especially Fuvalos will be played by most of our players this weekend. And on the other side, I'm really curious to see whether Drone Lockbird will be played in multiple copies in the main decks. But here comes the Ghost Ogre, which this is something maybe not unusual, but that we don't see often in the main decks. And it may shut down Samir's strategy, but there's a triple tactics talent. And I think, again, this is one of those cards which maybe will be in everyone's deck this weekend, and it makes the difference because now Samir is filled to know, and if he has an entrap to stop the track, for example, he could get rid of the X. So
yeah, I mean, he also knows now it's a mirror match, so that definitely helps in the way they use it up. But I do agree, Talent obviously has been an amazing card for a while, but I think for a moment we didn't see the card being main decked for a while, and now it seems like with the Ryziel deck the trend has changed once again, and it is seeing even free copies often in the main deck, so it's always interesting to see how these trends change.
Yeah, Ben now down to only 2 cards, and Samir's first turn, he's used 1 Imp. I'm not sure what the Imperm got used on.
on the Lacrima.
On the Lacrima,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then Ogre on the Princess, but the Princess still, that would mean got a draw, so Samir's going to have an awful lot of cards to be working with.
And yeah, as you can see, you know where the card was, and you can just bring it back.
And he sent away the X, was it? So he knows this is probably going to get Veiler.
You know about the Veiler, so there is only the Tract left in the end of ban.
Samir's got an awful lot of cards to be working with.
Yeah, it seems like nowadays the deck just has to figure out what to play around and what not, because Bestials are also one of those cards that keeps on changing, whether it's main decked in a lot of copies or whether it's not there at all, and obviously the Fiendsmith are heavily impacted by that.
Yeah, I'm seeing almost everyone now just at a minimum, including a Magnamut, and then one other Bestial that you can search with the Magnamut. And Samir thinking now in response to the Tract, has to wait until the main phase before he can activate his Lacrima, so he's had to let Ben start playing a little bit, but I think he's going to just try and resolve his Lacrima now, or maybe no, he's just thinking about it.
I think it will make sense, but maybe could wait a little bit longer. It depends on what he's holding in his hand, but in general, I think it will be okay to activate the Lacrima here, just because like basically Ben is left with 1 card, and yeah, it's going for it. So
we know kind of with the way chains work, I'm not actually sure Samir's going to have time to resolve the Fiendsmith in Paradise on the Lurie, because you have to wait now. You have to resolve the Lacrima, and then in a new chain we'll have Lurie as Chainlink 1, and then Lacrima is going to resolve. Well, that will be in a new chain actually, so it's Requiem on Chainlink 2. It's going to be a ideal target would have been the Lurie, of course, so you have to wait a little bit longer. Ben can play a few more cards. It's very difficult to interrupt this Requiem, isn't it? It's just a quick effect tribute.
No, exactly. But I mean, I feel like that if Samir has at least 1 interruption, which may be the case to be fair, because like he's left with 2 cards in hand, he may be able to stop Ben to continuing, but I think this is like a trend that we will see this weekend as well. At least 15 hand traps are played, so you know it's like statistically it's quite likely that you get to draw at least one. So yeah, Samir is allowing also this Lacrima, and it also depends honestly on what Ben drew into, because if you draw, for example, a Ryziel, that could, you know, basically impact.
Yeah, that could make a big difference. I
Yeah.
mean, Samir knows to play around the cards that Ben had, but he doesn't know that one card that he drew for turn. Samir, I guess, probably didn't have any Ryziel cards given how last turn was played out, except for possibly a node Ryziel or something like that. So he's going to have to work with what he's got, but that would mean, you know, often when your opponent hasn't extended any further, it means that the remaining cards are defensive options.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Ben, you're most likely thinking that's an impermanent set, could be, but... Yeah, here he comes, so... I mean, we have seen the impact of Infinite in Paradise over the past events, and that card now, if it was somewhat of a niche pick earlier on, now is played by everyone, and I mean, it is for a reason. Such a strong option, easily.
Yeah, it really took off once Fiendsmith Lacrima was released, so you could just send it. Well, the wrong Lacrima. It's not Fiendsmith Lacrima, is it? It's
Yeah, I mean
Lacrima of the Crimson Tears or something like that. Yeah, but it is always treated as a Fiendsmith card,
Yeah.
as it says on the text.
No, but also in Bologna we saw Fiendsmith in Paradise made the difference, and it was not played by many players, and nowadays it's like a must, let's say.
Look for a second like Ben was trying to destroy
yeah,
Samir's
the
set.
face that. That would be a bit too much.
It already has enough effects, Engraver.
Yeah.
Here we go, and what is that final card?
It's a monster, but couldn't quite tell.
ogre.
It's a ghost ogre.
So it looks like he's gonna normal summon the ogre. I guess that might make time for a sequence. Seems very ambitious to try and resolve a sequence here, but I suppose you've got to do something.
Okay. And it finally comes the impermanence from
Yeah.
Samir.
We expected it, and unfortunately that means it's going to be a pass back to Samir, holding 3 cards in his hands, and yeah, in a really good spot.
Yeah, you often know in situations like this, oh, and there comes the Ryziel. Samir's showing him the Ryziel. Do you think
I
you'd
think that's
ever-
it. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe there was still a chance that obviously your opponent might put you on, I don't know, Bestial Fiendsmith, but I mean, not gonna impact in all that much. And Samir takes game 1, convincing opener, and yeah, now the pressure is going to be on Ben to fight back. Obviously, we have mentioned it plenty of times that playing round 1, especially on in general, I think it's considered by also most of the top players as the hardest round, and doing it on stream is never easy. So we can expect, you know, a bit of pressure to be there for both players.
Yeah, especially for Ben going up again. I mean, it's one thing being the defending champion, but going up against the defending champion,
Yep.
Samir, it's got to be a very nerve-wracking experience. But then again, like playing against Samir's probably got to be a unique experience playing against somebody so cheerful and positive. You know, it's a bit of a weird
Indeed.
thing,
Yeah.
smiling as they crush you 2-0. You
Have you
know,
ever played against him when you were playing? Have you
no,
ever
I've
played?
just seen him on the stream all the time.
I
He's
played
just
against him actually. Yeah, but it was, you know, ages ago. So but no, I mean, like, I agree. Like, he's also been a European champion, so I mean, he has plenty of experience, to be fair, and like World Championship competitor, and
Yeah, what a player.
you know, like what a curriculum he has. But on the other side, I think also it will be interesting this weekend on how our players approach the
Yeah.
side deck, because I mean, I feel like in general the trend is to have some options against Malice, and it's both the case for both Ben and Samir, but also for the mirror matches. because I feel like there are multiple things to take care of, and I think Ben has both the thrust and the cross-set designators, which I think are very solid choices. And I think on the other hand, Samir is also super well prepared.
On that note, I saw Samir first action sneakily replacing a card in the extra deck from one in the side deck. So what did he bring in?
He has the Typhon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he has that mostly for going second, it seems, or in this matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice move because I think a lot of players have been cutting the Typhon because the extra deck now is very tight with the Ryziel and Fiendsmith cards competing. But Typhon is a particularly powerful card going second, so it makes sense to have it in the side deck for that exact situation. Really, regardless of what you're playing against, it's quite powerful.
Yeah, we have obviously seen the results at YCS Orlando, and I think our players have also looked at that and probably adjusted their decks. And I remember specifically Jesse Cotton, who is here this weekend, in the last future match he had, where it seems as if he lost the game, but then he had that one Typhon in his extra deck slot, and that really got him back into the game. So it's a card that is still out there, and you know, you never know whether to expect it or not, and it does come up. When it comes up, you know, it makes an impact. So, and it's always that kind of card that when you cut it, you're gonna then regret it. It's never gonna come up until you cut it. So we'll see whether that is the case. But yeah, it seems as if Ben has presented his deck already. So while Samir figures out his last, I think we can go back into the match for game 2.
I really do like Typhon at the moment, I must say.
Yeah.
It's a very good card, and I feel like also there's I was talking to some players yesterday about playing Exit on Night or not, because like some players cut out on it, and honestly, like I really like the card. And for example, Ben is not playing it. Well, Samir is. So because like I think you're right, Tom, that extra deck space is super tight, and if there's a card that maybe you can just replace, it could be the Exiton, but honestly, I can't see a universe where I'm not playing it. But
well, I think to some extent players are kind of looking at Moon of the Closed Heaven and thinking, well, obviously Exton's great, it's a rank 4, but in any situation you could make Exton, you could also just make Moon. So no one's playing any normal normal monsters that can make Exton and not Moon. So I guess it depends. If you want to use the effect of Exton, then obviously it's great to have. But if you don't care about its effect, then you might as well just have Moon.
Okay, we start things off a bit better here from Ben, but we are stopped by the impermanence right away. Okay.
And also, this is something. Do you usually keep any interaction on the level 4s? Because like it could also make sense to just let your opponent do everything and then have maybe the impermanence for the detonator, right?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people holding it, so I guess if I see an impermanence, to me it says maybe Samir's got another interruption in his hand.
Oh, but we're done.
Oh,
actually.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, Ben just thought that was enough, but I do agree with you that it's a bit odd, but we are gonna play right away this.
Wow.
Oof.
Wow, this is huge.
This is one of the cards coming from the side deck, I imagine, and what a card it is in this matchup specifically.
Yeah, I mean, the Ultimate Slayer, I think this weekend will be another very important card in our player set deck strategy, and I think it's another way of like replacing the Metal Tronus, I guess.
Yeah, I think people are actually main decking Metaltronus. I've seen that card really popular, and I think Samir might be main decking some himself.
Yeah.
Also main decking a copy of Book of Moon in true Samir style. He has to just throw something in there to confound everyone looking at his deck lists.
I mean, he won YCS London with the Book of Eclipse to play around Nibiru, so he has to bring at least a book card back in the UK. So
I think he's finally is he finally not running Monster Reborn though.
It's not. But Ben is left with no cards in it, right?
He's used Vela
no, he has
and Ash.
because he had 2 monsters.
Ah, yeah, that's it. That's
Veiled
right.
Ash and the Field Spell. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Samir having to start
Wow.
with his Ryziel package, so not going to get to use any
Yeah.
Fiendsmith cards this turn, but I'm not sure that's going to matter too much. You could see
Yeah.
them piling up.
This could be a quick one, and you can see why Samir is playing so fast, because, yeah, Ben is out of cards. And what a brutal game 2.
Here comes Node, and you can almost just summon something from the graveyard with Node and then just attack. Is that 8,000 damage? Well, it will be when you put a...
So 17 plus...
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
enough.
I think so, right? 20,
Yeah, and it's enough. What a match it was. Not quite what you would expect with Ben going first, but it is Samir taking it with this swift 2-0 victory. Wow. I mean, he is the player that he is for a reason, but what a start to this YCS Birmingham.
Yeah, a fantastic win for Samir. You got to feel a little sad for Ben not seeing that great engine. I feel like the hand he had in the first game, if he'd drawn that again, we would have seen a very different turn 1 from him. And yeah, an unfortunate start, only having the 1 ice and no Fiendsmith to follow it up.
Yeah, I mean, like in game 1, I think Ben tried to stop Samir, and on the other hand, there was the impermanence on Samir's side of the field, which basically stopped Ben's strategy. And on game 2, I think it was very unfortunate. He just activated the impermanence on the ice, and I feel like Ben's hand was not strong enough.
Yeah.
But, I mean, still, it's a very long tournament, so, you know, 11 rounds to go. So it's quite of a journey, and still, you played against, you know, the last champion here in the UK, and, you know, playing on stage on round 1, still, you know, more than something, I would say.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to, you know, to see throughout the day how the meta as well for the event develops. Later on, we'll be able to show you guys the meta breakdown for the event. But I can tell you already that there is a bit of a surprise at the top, because while if we include the different, you know, variations of Ryziel decks, they would make, you know, the top seed. So technically, as a single deck, Malice is at the top with around a 20% representation, which is wild to me. It's actually yeah, I mean, it's a very solid deck. But if you looked at you know, Top Cut finishes or even YCS Orlando, you didn't expect it to be this represented. But I can tell you that there are a lot of also really famous players. Seemingly also someone of world caliber. I'm just gonna put that out there, who is representing the deck, and hopefully we'll get to see some of these outsiders from all over other continents, you know, trying to represent the deck. But yeah, that will definitely be an interesting one. But also, at the end of the day, as Alberto mentioned, we have 11 more rounds of Swiss in total, 8 today, to see who will advance first and foremost to day 2. And then we will make it to the top 64, and with pretty much 2,500 players, it's quite tough.
Yeah, it's very tough. And as you said, like 22% Malice. I think even for the most popular deck, that's a lot of the field. So
yeah.
I guess players are really zoning in on those competitive meta decks this weekend. Often I feel like you see like maybe, you know, 20% for the most popular deck, and then afterwards the meta gets spread out. But everyone taking their super competitive decks this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen this, I think, quite in a while, to be fair, especially because like we have seen a lot of dominant decks throughout the past months. I think it's a big of a number, to be fair. And
Yeah.
I mean, on the other hand, I'm really curious to see how many players will be piloting Ryziel with Mitsurugi and Ryziel with Fiendsmiths. Because as you said, Tom, it's at the end of the day just a choice of which is the deck I'm most confident with. And I also feel like that Malice is, I don't want to say more complicated to play, but it has like certain choices which I think sometimes may be the key of that game. And I'm really curious to see our players and our top players as well who decided to rely on Malice, especially because we saw last week at YCS Orlando, Jeff Jones was this close to get the title. So hopefully we will get the chance to see our, you know, big names here as well in the top cut.
Yeah, it's definitely not as linear of a deck as you've mentioned. It seems as if you kind of have to give up on, most importantly, not losing to just one card, I would say, because the Ryziel deck, you've mentioned Sprite, but a lot of players have comparing it to Zodiac as well. As a deck, it's kind of like one of those decks that is quite consistent and really doesn't lose to just one single card. While obviously the elephant in the room for Malice is Artifact Lancia, which is hands down one of the most popular cards in the side decks. Yeah, that is something that you can try to approach. You can play, your crossouts, Call by the Grave, but at the end of the day, you know that you're gonna face a lot of the card, and also you're gonna face it both going first and going second, which is a big issue. And if you take that into account, it's an interesting take. On the other hand, though, you can return the favor because the deck is able to play Dimension Shifter. So, I mean, not many decks this weekend can take a Shifter full.
Yeah, it's a super interesting kind of dynamic, isn't it? On the one hand, you've got the Lancia, which stops you banishing cards, and on the other hand, you've got Shifter, which banishes everything. So, it is kind of interesting. Like, if you really like those grindy matchups, then you've got the Ryziel deck or some variant of the Ryziel deck. And then on the other hand, if you're a big combo player, then maybe the Malice deck is for you.
No, I mean, I really feel like it's the Malice mirror match somehow reminds me of the Necros mirror match for some reasons. Like two different decks completely, but the difficulty, I think it's there. I know it's your favorite deck along that side, but I mean, I'm really curious to see, especially because I think Lancia is more than a problem, I would say.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think if you can navigate through it and then just resist, it's one of those decks which can have a huge impact throughout this tournament.
I mean, all the previous events, especially this season, has shown us that you can bring a lot of different decks and be successful with them. So we are not quite gonna reveal, but later on we'll show a segment where each of us predicts what deck is going to take YCS Birmingham, and I'm gonna tell you already there are some bold picks out there. But now we want to hear it from the winner of round one, Samir, and to interview him we have a special guest for the weekend, Jean-Alexis. Let's hear it from them.
Thank you, guys. I'm here with Samir. Samir Bashar just won the first round and is here as the previous YCS winner in the UK. How is it to be there as the defendant of the title?
Can you repeat in French?
Samir, du coup, voilà, tu es ici en tant que vainqueur depuis la dernière édition. Déjà, évidemment, félicitations.
Merci.
Et qu'est-ce que ça te fait, tout simplement, d'être le vainqueur? Est-ce que ça te fait quelque chose de spécial?
En toute franchise, oui, j'avoue, ça fait comme un rêve accompli. Enfin, j'ai eu la chance de vivre ça une fois en gagnant l'Europe et j'ai eu cette chance de revivre cette expérience des années plus tard. Donc c'est une sensation indescriptible.
So perfect. So as you saw, I'm gonna do a bit of a translation, of course, because Samir is French as me. So I just asked him how it feels to be there as the previous winner, and he just said that of course it was something special because he was there and he has to defend his title, which I'm sure he will do, right? So you're known to be there for Sprite. You use this deck a lot during the past days, during the past weeks, and during the past months. But today you're here with Finsmith Ryziel. Why did you choose this deck specifically?
I chose this deck because it's Sprite 2 level better.
So basically it's Sprite with 2 more levels, which sounds pretty good. So we're gonna go through a bit of a highlights right there, and you're gonna explain to us what went through your mind during this game. So the first highlight is right there, your normal summoning Lurie, which is not the best move. So why did you normal summon that, and what was through your mind when you did that?
I choose normal summon in my Lurie because I only one normal summon on Engraver move. I think it's better if my opponent hash my Requiem. I can correctly extend her. I can respect correctly the on-trap, and I can draw Necrokeep little safe normally. I think it's just my only line optimal.
It's your only line. It's your only line, and of course your opponent had some interruptions.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a problem. So we can maybe go to the second highlight, where you're trying to go to the Necrokeep play, and you just get imperm. You just get impermed, and then there is an ogre right there. Were you prepared to have ogre and to face ogre during this tournament?
For this tournament or just this tournament?
Pour le tournoi de manière générale, est-ce que tu t'attendais à avoir ogre qui arrivait justement en fait en tant que end trap du format?
Honestly, little yes. Just this situation, I didn't. Je m'attendais pas à prendre Ghost Ogre.
Okay, so basically in this situation, he didn't expect Ghost Ogre. In the tournament, he expected to have Ogre in some main decks, but this time it was a bit of a surprise. So right after that, in this highlight, we saw that you were using Talent. What do you think of the card, and how good is it in the format?
I think this card is crazy, this format. It's really regulator of this format because much player playing much on trap and think the talent it's a win condition of game for respect or not respect.
Okay, so you think that if people don't respect Talent, then they are in a bit of trouble because the card is really powerful.
Yes, it's really powerful card.
Makes sense. And then we've got the highlight where you decided to activate the trap card on the summon of the Engraver, and then you decided to put the Lacrima down in the graveyard. Why did you choose this timing specifically?
I chose this timing specifically because if my opponent draw one rising monster, I can 2 extender possible because if I negate by my only negate is impermanence, I can after that Xyz, dual drive, extender, finish the game. And if I choose send to the grave the Lacrima, if my opponent the same situation hard draw one rising monster, I didn't have because impermanence rising on the only Chaos Angel.
Okay.
Or Fian Smith and Graven.
Yeah, I thought about it as well, and
Yeah.
I think it went pretty well for you.
Yeah.
And then the next highlight that we just saw, you decided to activate Impermanence, and then he literally passed turns. You decided previously to activate Talent and then to remove the X, if I remember well,
Yeah.
because he had Vader, X, and Tract.
Yeah.
Tract. You decided to remove the X, and did you rely on the fact that your Impermanence would stop him?
Yes. This moment I choose the X, thinking it's a better choose for control the game.
Okay.
For
You
if
didn't
my
want a
opponent draw.
fast-paced game, and you wanted to control a little bit more,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and it went pretty well because, of course, then he starts his own Finsmith plays, which literally don't do anything because you've got the answer, and he doesn't have a great hand, right?
Yeah, didn't great end on for the end of explication. My Necrokeep draw the Sword Rising, and I already normal summon.
Which is
Yeah.
absolutely, which is something.
Yeah.
And then the first game, you won the first game, and then the second game was really fast. You literally just had a normal summon ice for your opponent. Then you activated Impermanence, and there was, which you can see there, and there was literally nothing more than Detonator on the field and the field spell, the cross. What went through your mind at that moment? Did you think that the game was won?
Yes, honestly, yes. Because
Really?
after, for explication, I starting to untrap.
Yeah.
And if you're stopping the ice, theoretic, because I have Hash Blossom, my second untrap, except if my opponent the Fian Smith card on the Rising monster, I cannot stop the turn safe on the Ultimate Slayer, of course. And because Special Summon Ice, and I've just Ash, I'm sure my Ultimate Slayer can stop break all the board.
Yeah.
Only card,
Okay, so you were pretty well in the game, and you won the game pretty easily. Let's say that because it was really, really fast, which was something. Yeah. Finally, I don't have any highlights for that, but we saw you summon the new cards from Supreme Darkness, which was the new XYZ card, the Eclipse Twin.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that card, and how does it power up the deck?
Oh, honestly, this card is the only really new card for the deck. And this card is just crazy because
It's amazing, right?
Yes, it's really amazing because little more option for Hoteka. This deck is little less for Hoteka, the open player, if you didn't Fian Smith Engine. And for detonator isn't the same monster actually. The old detonator can lose for impermanence. The new detonator can
Yeah.
respect.
It doesn't lose to anything.
Yeah.
Like if you got talent, then you can bring it back from the graveyard.
Yeah.
If you got impermanence, then you can bring it back from the graveyard. So it loses to less thing, which is really cool, of course.
Yes, it's really good power creep.
Samir, you look very confident, and I'm pretty confident that we are going to see you again later this weekend. I hope that you will do great. Thanks a lot for your time after this game. I hope that everything will be fine for you. Don't go anywhere, guys, because we've got some more content for you. Ed, take it away.